Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I'm excited to share with you today a message that I hope you take to heart. It could make all the difference for you on your healing journey, healing your relationship with food, healing your relationship with diets, healing your relationship with weight. Okay, do you want that? All right, let's do it. First of all, if you're here for the first time, welcome. You have reached a show that will get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. We're not going to talk about diets and exercise programs. We're going to be talking about the inner workings of the emotional eater's mind, okay? Especially this show today. Also, if you haven't taken the quiz to find out if you're an emotional eater or possibly even a food addict, go to healyourhunger.com and take that free quiz. Super, super important. And lastly, join us on our free Facebook group. It's a group that's especially designed for emotional eaters. It's called The Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. So you can find that on Facebook, and we'd love to have you join the conversation there. Okay, on with the show. The Diet Rules Rebellion. What are you really fighting against? I had to bring this message to you because we as emotional eaters have been on a ride, right? We have been on a ride when it comes to diet and exercise and restriction and trying to figure out the whole weight loss thing. I mean, it is for most people who are drawn to my work, it's like a multi-decade tortured process, decade upon decade of failed attempts at weight loss, failed diets, yo-yoing up and down the scale, feeling great for 2 seconds and then putting the weight back on. I've done it all. Okay, I was 50 pounds overweight and I was definitely on the dieting roller coaster ride. I had 5 sizes of pants in my closet because I was up and down all the time. And I was always holding on to hope that I could reach in that low weight and fit in my skinny jeans, which rarely happened. But even if it did, it was for like seconds. And there's a whole slew of reasons why I put the weight back on so quickly. And I'll do that on another podcast because that's a worthy topic. But I want to talk about specifically the need to rebel. Okay. And I hear this time and time again, I feel rebellious. Okay, so let's talk about this. Many emotional eaters basically think, they feel rebellious, like, I don't want to eat healthy, or I'm tired of eating healthy. Have you ever felt that way? Like, I'm just tired of being good. And when you're on a diet, that's what it is. It's basically being good for a time that is unsustainable. So you're like doing your best, but you're like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I want to go be bad. Okay, I want to rebel against the diet rules. And so I understand that need for rebellion. First of all, it gets tiring because you're not dealing with the underlying causes. All right. So when you feel like I can't possibly do it anymore, it's because you have cravings to eat and you're using willpower to try not to eat. And that is unsustainable. You will lose. That's like going to, if I went down to the Santa Monica beach and tried to stop the wave, forget about it. I mean, I can build a little wall and for a time maybe stop that wave, but guess what? That wave's coming, it's coming, because that wall will crash and the waves will continue to come. So if you have the cravings, you can only sustain holding off or resisting for so long and you get tired and you're like, I can't do it anymore. So first of all, that's one reason why diets aren't going to work, because willpower doesn't work. You cannot do it with willpower. It's unsustainable. Those cravings come from a deeper place, and if you don't address that, if you don't look, and I'm not even talking like deeper place, like way back when, inner childhood. I'm talking about, your lifestyle, your stress, your loneliness, your backlog of emotions and hurt feelings. I mean, there's all kinds of things that drive that craving, that compulsion, namely buried emotions, stress, and even habit. Like it's just what you do. It's your go-to. It's your default. So that's where we need to go. That's what we need to unpack. But I want to focus on the rebelling, okay? So people think they're rebelling against restrictive food rules. But is that really what we're rebelling against? In the moment, it feels empowering, like I'm going to break the rules. So somehow we get our power back by saying, well, I'm going to consciously say, screw it. Have you ever done that? Like, I'm going to eat. I'm very conscious of what I'm doing. This is an empowered choice. All right. So it feels empowering to break the rules and eat whatever you want. But how empowered are you when you end up binging and then feeling like crap, right? Weight gain, regret, more cravings, self-hatred. I mean, it's hard to binge without that accompanying it. I tell people, I don't know how to make you feel good about binging. I don't. Like, it hurts. It hurts my body. My body expands. My body sweats. My body feels lethargic and it hurts. I have pain when binging. So, no, I don't want that. And that is not empowering. That's disempowering. So, in the moment, like, I'm going to break this rule, sure. We feel empowered, but it's really only because we feel disempowered by the cravings and by the powerlessness of having to do it even though we know better, right? So true rebellion doesn't create guilt and shame and self-hatred. True rebellion should lead to freedom, not more suffering. So are you really free when you're saying, I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat? In the moment, we have an illusion of freedom, but are you free when you end up feeling like you're in more bondage? Not able to fit in your pants, a barrage of self-defeating thoughts and criticisms. That's not freedom. So what I want to say is the problem isn't really the rules. And if you go on a diet, you're going to have rules, okay? People are always like saying to me, tell me what I should eat, or do you have a food plan I can follow? They want me to tell them what to eat, which I don't do, because that is disempowering. I want you to clear away the emotions that are driving your cravings. I want you to address your stress and start living differently, making new living choices around stress and boundaries and codependency and people pleasing. I want you to create new healthy habits like meditation and prayer and talking about your feelings, writing about your feelings. I want you to deal with it at the problem level instead. But if you just grab a diet from somewhere, you will have rules. All right. So, but then you want to break the rules. So it's on you if you were looking for somebody to tell you what to eat. All right. Because you'll rebel against those very rules. So here's what I have to say. Here's my point of the whole darn podcast today. The whole episode is the real problem isn't the rules. It's the fact that food choices have consequences. All right? Your food choices have consequences. And as emotional eaters, we don't want to face that fact. That's a hard pill to swallow. We live in a world where the body operates under the laws of cause and effect. When we eat beyond our body's needs, we gain weight. We feel sluggish. We have inflammation in our body and cravings, of course. But we don't like that. And we want that fact to change. We want to eat what we want to eat and not have consequences. And the body doesn't work that way. So what are we really rebelling against? We're wishing food had no impact on our weight or on our health. But wishing food had no impact on our weight or on our health is like expecting gravity to just take a break. Like, we want gravity to not exist in the moments that we don't like gravity, like with our skin falling. It's a fantasy. Gravity exists and we should be glad it does. As my mentor Roy used to say, if gravity didn't exist, or if gravity wasn't a predictable law, guess what? We could jump out a window and fall up. Like, we wouldn't know which way we were going to go. So the law of cause and effect is if you eat certain foods in certain amounts, you will gain weight and you will feel like crap. And we can depend on that rule, and that rule can work in our favor. Otherwise, we're testing the boundaries of it, always trying to see, is this the day that I can get away with it? We're living in fantasy land. So emotional eaters chase the impossible dream. I want to eat what I want to eat and not gain weight. And marketers will help you believe that dream. The eat everything and lose weight diet. Okay, the sit on the couch and eat and watch Netflix and have the body you've always wanted. Like, if they can just, play to our fantastical minds the way we think, is delusional, many times will buy their product. So don't be a sucker. Don't buy into the delusion. Marketers prey on emotional eaters who want to believe that we can bend reality. And this fantasy fuels binge eating because it's based on the denial of the consequences. And the truth is, real freedom comes from choosing foods that nourish our bodies rather than reacting to cravings or reacting to our emotions by eating and then having the consequence of weight gain and feeling bad. True freedom comes when we address the underlying causes of our cravings, the emotions, the stress, and the habit, so that our cravings can reduce, they can abate, so we can feel free to make healthy choices and feel good about it. Literally crave healthy foods instead of unhealthy foods. That's freedom, friends. That is freedom. And most people don't realize that you can get to a place by shifting the conversation, changing the paradigm. Instead of dieting and getting the rules and trying to follow the rules, you can make a pivot to the heal your hunger way, which is to heal what you're really hungry for. And then the cravings aren't going to drive you to eat because you're not going to have them. And then you can be free to make healthy choices. That's what I'm talking about, friends. That is heal your hunger. That's what we're about. I want to address the unfairness factor, because when you're in the grip of a craving, and you see Susie and Sally eating, whatever they want, whenever they want, you feel like, that's not fair. That's not fair. And many emotional eaters feel angry or resentful that they can't eat like others without gaining weight. Many of us, I'm right there in there as well, we have a metabolism that makes weight gain more likely. And this can feel deeply unfair. But the problem is fighting that fact. When we fight that fact, we continue to be a victim of that fact. So instead of fighting reality, what if we accept it and work with our bodies instead of against them? Okay? And I just want to really encourage you to look beyond weight loss hacks. It's so seductive, and the marketers they're ready to seduce you with the quick fixes and the hacks. And doctors do this too, with surgery, medications, natural doctors will do it with certain herbs and supplements. And I'm not knocking any of those things for the right situation. The problem is when we as emotional eaters buy into the idea that there's a quick fix and we're like, oh, yes, doctor, let's do that surgery. Let's take that pill and let's get rid of this thing for good. If you're an emotional eater, you still have to address all the aspects of being an emotional eater. Looking for weight loss hacks feels easier than addressing our emotional relationship with food. But don't be seduced. Even if you lose weight by hook or by crook, you're still going to have to deal with the crux of the problem, which is how to become more emotionally balanced, how to address your stress, because emotional eaters love to stress ourselves out by overdoing, overthinking, and people pleasing. So you still got to deal. You still got to deal, even more so because you don't have the food to lean on anymore. It's a shocking thing when people who lose weight on GLP-1s realize that they're still turning to food for emotional comfort. They're still making emotional decisions around food. I want the donuts. I don't want the salad. And guess what? Now I can get away with it more. So be careful of that. Oftentimes when people lose weight through some kind of hack like medications or surgery, they're making even more unhealthy choices because somehow they feel like they can get away with it. And their bodies are suffering because they're not feeding themselves. They're not nourishing themselves with the right foods that can keep their body happy and energized, because they're not choosing foods that will nourish their body, give them energy, repair, and help them feel good about themselves. So, what are you really hungry for? If it's not the rules that you're rebelling against, if you're actually rebelling against the fact that if you overeat, you're going to gain weight, right? What we're really rebelling against is the compulsion to eat, that part of us that just wants to eat. It's not the rules that are doing it to us. It's not diets that are doing it to us. It's the fact that we can't stay on the diet because we have this terrible compulsion that is just, yapping in our ear, telling us to go ahead and eat it anyway. Go ahead and have that thing. Take one bite. It won't hurt you. That's really what we're rebelling against, friends. The fact that when we're emotional eaters, we have a very busy, very chatty mind that's feeding us negative messages all day long, and we get tired, and then we're like, screw it. And we think we're saying screw it to the diet, screw it to the healthy nutrition advice. We're really saying screw it because we're tired of what's going on between our ears. So I really want you to start shifting the conversation between your ears. Instead of I want that and I'm going to have it no matter what, screw the rules. Notice when you're feeling rebellious. Pause and say, hey, what's really going on? Or hey, what am I needing right now? What's an unmet need I have right now? Because it's not about the food. Overweight is a symptom of overeating. Overeating is a symptom of what's eating you. So get curious, what's really going on? True freedom isn't eating what you crave. It's eating in a way that supports your health, your emotions, and your peace of mind. So instead of rebelling against reality, what if you embraced reality? Embraced the law of cause and effect and worked with it. So the question to ask yourself is, do I want to keep fighting this battle, or do I want to make peace with my body and my food choices by accepting what I have? And guess what? Everybody's got something. It's not just you. So when you get into that self-pity party about feeling like it's not fair, just know we've all got something. We all have, some ailment, some life situation, some tragedy, some loss, some situation that makes life a little harder. That's why we're here. We're here to overcome obstacles. We're here to develop a stronger relationship with our higher power so we can get through things without turning to food and instead turning to God or spirit or whatever you call it. Doesn't matter. It's what's important to you and what feeds your soul. And don't forget that community with other emotional eaters is intensely nourishing as well. So you don't have to do it alone. Please reach out for help at healyourhunger.com. Book a session. Let's talk and see what we can do to help heal your hunger. You so deserve that freedom. Thanks so much. I love you to pieces, and I'll see you on the next show. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.